Today we are going to explore 3 different variations in a seated twisting asana or a seated twist. There are several key considerations when it comes to twisting asanas, and in particular when we explore twist in the yoga practice, it gives us another wonderful opportunity to explore the harmonious relationship between the spine and our pelvis. In particular, we're going to focus on a few key areas, and one in particular is anchoring and where you anchor when you are in a seated twist. This will be avoiding anchoring in the sitting bones and rather using the ability for congruency of the movement of our pelvis along with the region of our sacrum and our spine to move together in the twist. Then also the emphasis of breath. So when we come into a twisting action in the body, we want to take that twisting movement after the full exhalation. So these are a few key areas to consider in the variations we're going to explore today, and we'll break down 3 variations using the 3P pose principles of position, proportion, and presence. Another key emphasis that I want to highlight that's going to be relevant in all the variations we explore today is in regards to the movement of the pelvis and how it moves with the hip joint. So think about a mortar and pestle. And so you're thinking about the pestle being the top, the head of your femur bone, and then the mortar actually being the hip joint, or think about the pelvis. So it's important that we move the mortar over the pestle rather than the pestle grinding into, right? That could create some tension, some stress in the tissues, the soft tissues of the joint, possibly tears within the labrum of the hip joint. So it's very important that you always, in this pose and other poses, when there's hip flexion, that you're rolling the pelvis over the top or the head of the femur. In variation A, which would be a limited mobility variation, we're going to use a blanket, and actually the blanket, you'll position the corner where you can position your pelvis to the edge. That's going to allow your ability for your pelvis to anteriorly tilt forward rather than you feel like you're reclining back in the seated twist. Now, it's very important here, you're going to bend one leg, so I'll just say the left leg, and then you'll have that bent leg with your heel in line with your sitting bone. It's very important. That's the position of the foot, not the foot coming in close to your inner thigh. Now the anchor, I've already mentioned, is a strong emphasis here. The anchor is not your pelvis. You are not seeking to fix your pelvis to the floor. The anchor will be your shin bone on that left leg rooting down into the heel bone. So we want some mobility to come in the pelvis for the shape. Key consideration here, and probably one of the most important aspects of position, is your extended leg. The right leg will extend out and actually move forward, gliding forward, which will bring your right side of your pelvis forward and not in line with the left side. And in this position, you'll already start to feel the sensation of the twist coming into the shape. Now, that position and that anchor shifts majority of your body weight over into the left side. So there's like 10% that might actually be in the right side. So there is movement and gliding. Once that right leg glides forward, you can hug the left knee in a little. You want to keep that congruency of the pelvis rolling over the head of the femur bone. And then with a breath, a nice inhalation, a full exhalation. After the exhalation is when the movement comes, when you start to rotate. And remember, we're keeping congruency in the pelvis and the sacrum. That is why you are positioning yourself in this way, so that you actually, the rotation comes from the pelvis, not your pelvis being fixed and you trying to force the sacrum to come forward, which would result in SI dysfunction in that sacroiliac crest area where we have movement, but we don't want to overstretch that area. So this is where you'll hold the shape, you'll breathe, Empty the breath, the exhalations, you may consider going a little farther, just notice. You may feel a little compression within the abdominal region, a little heat in the body, and then you take the exhalation again to rotate thoughtfully out of the shape. Take a few breaths to release, and then certainly explore this twist on the opposite side. In the next variation, variation B, which would be beginners, you'll explore the same positioning of the body as was in the first variation. A few other considerations: you could also use a blanket in this variation. From a proportional aspect, the placement of the left foot in distance of your left sitting bone, you'll have to consider that proportion, because if you start to recline back or take the natural curvatures out of your spine, rounding the low lumbar, then you'll want to elevate and lift your pelvis, either with a blanket or proportionally you'll slide the left foot forward a little, still to keep your left heel in alignment with the left sitting bone. Same action of the right foot gliding forward, so you start to already feel the rotation coming in, moving from the pelvis. So we want to keep that key integration of the relationship of the pelvis in harmony with the sacrum. We do not want to fix the pelvis or the sacrum and try to twist. From that, we want it all to move together. Another proportional aspect of this variation B of beginners is you could start to hug in and actually use your right arm to hug in the left knee towards you, but keep the integrity of this uplift through the spine and actually a slight back bending quality in the low lumbar region of your spine, as well as this rotational aspect in the mid-thoracic region of your spine that could feel a little like a back bend up in that region as well. And then the movement always comes after the exhalation. So support the shape, the twist with breath. If you want to explore rotating further, just be mindful that the full exhalation comes and then the rotation. And as thoughtfully as you come into the shape, you slowly release and reset to explore the other side. In this final variation, variation C, which would be mixed level, the approach in highlighting the quality of presence within our 3P pose principles. Now, the same positional qualities are here in this shape, the same proportional as well. So be mindful that you're positioning yourself and your weight is shifting over into that left sitting bone area with a lightness or even a lift of the right side of your pelvis. The right leg still is extending and gliding forward so that you maintain that rotation coming from the congruency of the pelvis and sacrum together. Now, this is where you could hug in the left knee a little closer again, but you could consider taking and rotating your right elbow to the outside of the left thigh. Now, if you're going to take that variation in this shape, be sure that you're keeping a bend, a slight bend in the right elbow so that you're not hyperextending in that joint. The key again and the emphasis is the weight and the anchor is in the left shin bone, moving down into the left heel bone, right? You're not fixing the pelvis, you're allowing the pelvis to naturally rotate. Now, where does presence show up in this shape? Well, most likely what you're going to start to sense is a warming sensation coming into the body as you're rotating and squeezing the internal abdominal organs in this shape and the qualities of the twist. So you may feel the warming sensation in your belly. You may feel it rise up into your chest. And you support that shape with your breath. Movement always coming after the full exhalations. Take a few breaths there, slowly return to center to reset, and you may find that extending out into a reclined position to reset and allow the releasing of the squeezing of the internal abdominal organs, allowing them to reset would be a wonderful reset before you move into the shape on the other side. Today we explored 3 different variations of a seated twist. Some key considerations to always remember in twisting asanas is that your twist is the healthiest when it moves in congruency of your pelvis and your sacrum moving together. So be mindful in your twists that you're not anchoring or fixing your pelvis, but you're naturally allowing the intuitive intelligence of how you're designed to help you move into the twist and access all the wonderful benefits. If you're seeking additional resources, be sure to check out the box below, and I'll look forward to meeting with you in the next video.